Let's do it. Another edition here of Guys on the Go. All the sports talk you need from the week in less than 40 minutes. But before we get into it, got to give love to our friends, and that includes our friends at Mohawk Honda. Selection is king, as you know that. Kelly Blue Book offer still going for you, where you can walk off the lot there in Glenville with money in your pocket or with a new ride, pre-owned or new. And Levack and I will be broadcasting live from Mohawk Honda this Friday, October 22nd from 3 to 4:30. Join us on the Mohawk Honda Facebook page, Godzilla Media's YouTube channel, Techie's Fire and Water Restoration's Facebook, and more. That's where you can check out Levack and Goz. A little Friday edition as we hit the weekend talking college, NFL, a little extended. More than this, you want more breakdown, in-depth analysis, you're going to get it on Friday from Mohawk Honda. And no matter where you're listening in upstate New York, do yourself a favor. Check out their social media during that. When you're watching us on Facebook, check out their selection of vehicles and make the drive to Glenville. It's worth it. So many people now going through the car buying experience can't find the ride they want. Mohawk Honda will do everything they can to find it for you. I know it. Trust, experience. I'm going to be working with my guy John in service and fix that maintenance light. Love my Pilot. Best vehicle I've ever had. I want you to have that same bragging right. And it can happen if you go to Mohawk Honda, where they always go out of their way to please you. And by the way, we're going to talk some NFL and football during that show. Let's lead off this edition of Guys on the Go, talking a little football, and in particular, the Buffalo Bills. This is not Bills hate. I like the Bills this season. Preseason, I could reach out and grab it right now. Buccaneers, Bills, Super Bowl, 25-1 ticket. I want it to cash. But here's the problem, Buffalo fans. What Monday's game was against the Titans was a true test. I said this to my pal Levack on Monday live from the Hideaway. I said if Buffalo can win this game, some can make the argument they're the best team in the NFL. I wouldn't do that because Arizona's undefeated and they deserve the top spot if they haven't been beaten yet. So Arizona's the best team, but not everyone has to agree with me. And you could make the case that Buffalo, because of how far they got last season and how dominant that they had looked, could be the best team if they beat Tennessee. A more than likely playoff team because of how bad the AFC South is, but they didn't do it. Bills fans making a lot of excuses on social media. Oh, there was a holding on the Derrick Henry call. There was a second holding on the Derrick Henry call. Josh Allen slipped. A bad spot. Tennessee won the game. There's nothing worse that I hate on social media is that when fan makes excuse for what happens but ignores the excuses and things that happen to their team. It's only a one-sided game for fans, but that's what social media is. But fans are quick to point this out too. That the Buffalo Bills' remainder of the schedule is easy, and it is. But why is that a benefit for Buffalo? And that's why I'm getting a little nervous about the hype train that is the Bills' mind for the Bills and the Super Bowl and everything else, even for somebody who has a vested interest in the Bills succeeding this season. Because they get the AFC South, they get the NFC South in their schedule, and the AFC East. Do the math on how that combination comes through. But those are the types of teams they're going to play up until January. So who's the real test? Well, you could mention Tampa, who I've mentioned a few times already. They don't play the Bucs until about mid-December. Are you positive the Saints are a playoff team? I'm not. The Falcons aren't any good. The Panthers have been up and down, maybe the most tough team to figure out this season. The AFC East. The Dolphins don't have Deshaun Watson yet. The Jets don't have the players. The Patriots is a big rivalry, but New England's going to be fighting for a spot. The Colts could be a test on November 21st. You get the point I'm trying to make. Buffalo is going to be favored in all these games, but there is a real chance that for the remaining double-digit games left, that only one time Buffalo is going to be tested by a potential playoff team. And the two teams that Buffalo has lost to this season, Pittsburgh and Tennessee, far more likely to be playoff teams than anybody else left on the schedule. Now, Bill Finn will be quick to point out they beat Kansas City and they smashed Kansas City. Yes, they did. The team is built to beat Kansas City. But I can't tell you that I'm going to feel more confident about the Bills with no test for the remainder of the season. Look, this goes back to 2019. Some of you know this, some of you don't. 2019, I was fortunate enough to be the Bills beat reporter, can we call it? Stringer, use a radio term there, for WABC in New York City for the Sid Rosenberg Show. Shout out to that, my guy at The Gun Show with the Z, Mike Gunzelman. The legendary Sid Rosenberg used to have me do hits every Sunday morning. And almost every other Sunday, I had to bring up the record of the combined opponents for the Bills in 2019. Bill Finn didn't want to hear that. But you could argue the Bills team in 2019 did not go as far as you'd hoped. Are we pacing for that in 2021? that Josh Allen's going to put up big numbers. Dawson Knox breaks his hand in the game. The running back situation's maybe more concerning than we realize, but it could maybe just be good enough to get by. Defense is stacked. I wanted Buffalo to win. I want Buffalo to do well. But the hype is going to build here for the next 3 months over teams they're supposed to beat. There's going to be one team they slip up to. They are not going to finish the season 15-2. But all of a sudden, I'm more concerned than ever. I just wanted Buffalo to win that game. And I don't know the next time I'm going to feel like this Buffalo team has beaten consistent opponents that's going to get them ready for the playoff push. Weird is good. And you really don't realize that until you become more mature in your life and you can understand that the term weird is not an insult. At times, it can almost be a compliment. Look, there's levels of weird. I get that. You don't want to hang out with a weird person who might be a little bit antisocial or just does things that are not within social norms. But there are certain people you might define as weird or events you might define as weird that you're entertained by. I brought up Jim Carrey before and got to go. Would you describe him as normal? No, you describe him as weird. But he's really funny. He's interesting. There are a lot of sports talk radio hosts. There are a lot of people on podcasts and entertainers and more that weird would be the right way to describe them. That might be polite to do that. But they're great movies. Their music's fantastic. You want to listen. You want to watch what they do. So the term weird is being used as a compliment here when I describe the Major League Baseball playoffs, and in particular the NL and ALCS, because stuff has gotten weird. Some people like to say on a Sunday morning after a wild party night, shit got weird last night. But you might want to celebrate that. Look, Boston and Houston, the umpires have been all over the place. There's been some big hits. There's been some blowouts. 9-1, the most recent finals after we're taping this, is now Houston has swung back into the lead in that series, up 3-2. I could sit here and complain about umpires. You don't want to hear that for the next 3.5 minutes. You get it. You know what happened. They're not good enough. We're not going to get robot umpires. It's going to take too long and already slow down the pace of baseball. But that's why it's gotten weird. Is that even after 5 games into this series, I'm not quite convinced that Houston's the best team. I'm not quite convinced that Boston fan believes that Houston is the best team. And already out loud, that sounds kind of weird. That Red Sox fan is not exactly, well, we shouldn't have been here, so anything else after this is gravy. No, it's not the mindset. Boston's 2 wins away from the World Series and had a lead in this series. Finding out who the best player has been in this series and more has been back and forth. And that's why it's gotten weird. And how about you flip it over to the Braves and Dodgers? Cody Bellinger is swinging at a ball at his eyes. The Dodgers are dead. Dave Roberts, the manager of the LA Dodgers, the guy who legendarily stole second base in that 2004 ALCS that helped the Red Sox make magic in that season. He said he had never felt more dead in a playoff game than until Bellinger hit that home run. And Bellinger, yes, Cody Bellinger, who in 2019 was the regular season MVP in baseball. You all of a sudden look at Cody Bellinger and you think, wait, is that the same guy? And I know I've mentioned this to so many people before that the LA Dodgers have made this weird mindset of having these incredible players that just crash and burn. Matt Kemp, Jock Peterson. In Cody Bellinger's stats, you could argue he was one of the worst players in baseball this past regular season. A former MVP batted 165 this season. 165! And he has the biggest hit in the series. I love the weirdness that has come into play here in the AL and NLCS. I saw a video on Twitter of something weird flying over Boston and Houston, like an unidentified flying object, a UFO. I like the weird of this too. And by the way, when we're taping this, it's 5-2 Atlanta on top of LA. So the Dodgers come back and win this game. Who knows? Maybe I'll come back and re-edit this and add to the weird takes here. But I like that because it gives me something to talk about. It gives casual baseball fans something to talk about. I told you New York fan may not even be interested in this series. But when the strange and the bizarre and the stuff you never see before is become the storylines of the semifinals before we get to the World Series in baseball, anybody might want to peek over and think, what the hell is happening? And I don't want to miss what's going to happen on the next pitch, the next game, the next inning. There you go, baseball. Embrace the weird like it's Austin, Texas. Keep it weird. Now, Austin, Texas is the home of the Texas Longhorns. And you know, if you follow me on social media, I love haunting Texas Longhorn fan. Is Texas back? My guys DJ and Perez and Levack and Dan. Everybody, if you see an Is Texas back comment from me, you know I'm in a great mood. And it's nothing against the Longhorns. I just think it's funny. I just love the gif. Now, I love that about college football. Even though I root against Texas just for the hilarity that will ensue on social media, I truly have found the fan base in college football I hate the most. And that's LSU. If you're an LSU fan, I know my guys Eric and Woods from Over the Bar podcast claim to be LSU fans, and they are. I can't stand that fan base. Now, Ed Orgeron, Coach O has been fired, or how do we describe this, okay? So Coach O goes out and beats Florida. But even after defeating a top 10 team in the country, the news comes on Sunday that Coach O has reached a separation agreement, which is the most bizarre thing ever, that basically, hey, we want to fire you, but we're going to pay you, but we don't know the best way to do this, but we're going to let you finish the season, even though all your assistants know they're probably lame ducks. Even all the players you recruited probably want to transfer now, but this will be fine. Let's start the search for our next head coach as soon as possible. Coach O just won a national championship less than 2 years ago. Now, people will point in Louisiana and say, well, Joe Burrow almost went to Tennessee and he would have gone there if Greg Schiano was the coach. Well, he had a loaded all-time great offense. Well, he just won a national championship 2 years ago. And now you're throwing him out. LSU never wanted Coach O. People in Baton Rouge never thought he was the guy. And what did he do? He proved everybody wrong with the negativity out of Baton Rouge. Got him kicked out. And I like the guys who cover the team down in Baton Rouge, the ones who've gotten an opportunity to talk to. Matt Moscona is one of the most underrated radio hosts in the country. Moscona could be in a big market. These things happen in his personal life. He's in Baton Rouge. He's great. Jordy Culotta, who's no longer with the ESPN affiliate there, who's now gone on his own, him and I have more in common than he realizes. I'm just going to leave that there. If you want more of that story about me and Jordy, a little email, a little DM of that story about me in Baton Rouge. But they didn't embrace Coach O. The guy continued to be criticized and criticized time after time, and I can't wait for LSU to come back to reality. Because now it's back-to-back times. It's Les Miles and it's Coach O. Quickly here are the final few seasons for Les Miles at LSU. 11-2, 13-1, 10-3, 10-3, 8-5, 9-3, 2-2 in 2016. If you remember the game after he got fired, it was a tipped Hail Mary pass in the end zone. Lost the game on a tipped Hail Mary pass, and that's why I lost the job. I cannot wait, and I'm going to root for this for the next 20 years, for LSU to become Nebraska. Oh, I cannot wait for LSU to become Nebraska. And non-college football fans may not know what I'm talking about because I lived through this and I remember this. That Nebraska football thought they were better than they were. They thought every single season they should be like Tom Osborne in the past. They should just go out there, dominate everybody, and if you weren't good enough, you were out. Bo Pelini averaged 8 wins a season. Frank Solich's record is ridiculous if you go back and look at that. But Nebraska thought every single season they should win the national championship. And they fired their head coach, and they've never been relevant since. Scott Frost can't cover. Maybe they'll find a player one day, but they're just not in the conversation anymore. And I cannot wait for the next decade plus to watch LSU turn into that. Because LSU dumped 2 national championship coaches because of what? Because they're not Alabama? Because they don't win every single game? I don't even get it. Coach O was 13-5 against top 10 teams in the country. 13-5. Coach O has been a 500 coach basically since the championship season. He's lived life like a king down in the bayou. He divorced his longtime wife. He was out there trying to find some, let's just say for lack of a better term, hookups. The Athletic had the story that Coach O was flirting with a female down in Baton Rouge about trying to work out with her. Comes to find out that that female he was flirting with was the wife of an administrative person at LSU. Uh-oh. So Coach O wasn't exactly Urban Meyer in recruiting in the locker room following a national championship. So if you want to blame him, fine. You can twist the narrative however you want. But that's not what this whole story for me is about, why I despise the LSU fan base. You've gone to a point of spoiled beyond belief. You have got to a point now for an LSU team that you think you should win in every single game. Go undefeated every single season. You do not want this job. I saw part in the interruption the other day ask this question. What job would you rather have, LSU or USC? USC has had 6 different head coaches in 13 seasons. The USC with Matt Leinart, Reggie Bush, Carson Palmer, all those teams, they're nowhere close to what they were back when I was in middle school and high school. But I would 100% take USC over LSU. Because imagine if you went 10-2, 11-1, 12-0, and lost the national championship. You think LSU fan wants you? I want so badly for LSU to suck for the next 20 years and them to just fire their coach at random spots. They had Nick Saban who helped them win a national championship. They've had Les Miles. They've had Coach O. 3 national championships in what, 20 years? And that's not good enough for LSU. Okay, bye-bye. See ya. I cannot wait till they're never relevant again. And it's possible, right? Look at the SEC. Jimbo Fisher has the greatest agent of all time because Jimbo Fisher just signed a new extension for Texas A&M, even though they're not any good. And initially, his name was the first one out there. That's how you get a raise on a contract you already have, whatever. But Texas A&M is eventually going to figure it out. We already know Alabama's good, and Saban can do this as long as he wants. Lane Kiffin's got some recruits coming back to Ole Miss. My guy, Coach Pittman, turn on that new box. Got Arkansas moving in the right direction. The SEC isn't bad. We know the SEC is all about Kentucky. Kentucky had a shot to be the best team. Like, oh, yeah, Georgia. Remember them? Remember Florida? I could run through. We get it. I can't wait. I hope that they hire. It doesn't even matter. It could be Joe Brady. Maybe they'll go with the Auburn move, right? Auburn's in that same boat where Gene Chizik won a national championship, and they said it's not you. It's Gus Malzahn. How'd that go for you? How'd that hire for Gus Malzahn go? Not well? Okay. Go get Joe Brady if you want him to come back to LSU. Maybe Joe Brady's going to coach a team in the NFL. I can't wait to root against LSU for the next 20 years. I hope the next guy fails and the next guy fails, and they start going 9-3, 8-4, and they continue to fire and say, welcome to Nebraska land. They don't deserve it. They've gotten too spoiled too fast. The gumbo's gone to their heads. They're having beignets bigger than Zion Williamson's head. I'm done with LSU fans. I despise that fan base, hopefully for the next 15 to 20 years. I'm already fired up, and I want to rip apart LSU, so I'm just going to stop there and instead rip apart a former LSU athlete. That's Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons is the worst. I've ripped Kyrie so many times on this podcast. I'm so done with Kyrie, and he's done. He's going to sit out till whatever. Ben Simmons is just as bad. If you missed the story, Ben Simmons wanted to get traded. He wanted to pass up the shot. Just didn't show up when the game mattered the most and thinks he's a $100 million guy. And then he finally shows up to practice in sweatpants. He's got a cell phone in his pocket. He gets thrown out of the drill. What a baby. Who can defend that? That's what I can't say about 2021. Who are the people that defend Ben Simmons? Who is in Ben Simmons' corner, his camp? Rich Paul and company says, you know what, Ben, you're playing this perfect. If you act like a brat and you destroy your team and destroy relationships and have the city boo you, you'll look like the good guy. Yeah, everybody will notice when you start to get booed how bad these fans are. What planet would people live on to think they're giving Ben Simmons good advice? Where does he think he's going to go? That he's going to be a superstar contender? That all of a sudden I was going to say, it's okay, Ben. You don't have to take shots in the fourth quarter. We know it's really stressful. It could maybe hurt your feelings. Why don't you take the playoff games off and just get your money? Oh, my God. We've seen guys like this, right? Jimmy Butler forced his way out of Minnesota. Kyrie did his whole thing. Durant. We can run through the list of guys in the NBA who have forced their way out of cities. Anthony Davis. But this is to a different extreme. I feel like Philadelphia, here's a little bonus pick for you. Philadelphia's going to blast Brooklyn on Friday night. It didn't matter to me who the opponent was. Philadelphia, without Ben Simmons, is going to show everybody what they can do without him and how they might be a better team without him. They might go out there, Joel Embiid, and put up a performance and says, we don't need his ass on our team anymore. Bye-bye. See ya. Quitting on your team, demanding to trade, coming back. Him and Kyrie, man, I can't do it. Here's the problem, though, between Kyrie and Ben Simmons. Kyrie is weird, and that phrase I'm using this time might be actually an insult, is far better of a player than Ben Simmons. Kyrie's shooting ability, getting to the rim, ball handling skills, and all that. So Ben Simmons is not on his level. I know he's a multiple-time All-Star, but come on. The most impactful shot in the history of the Cleveland Cavaliers is not LeBron James. It's Kyrie in the NBA Finals. What the hell has Ben Simmons done in his career to earn this type of right to even be in the conversation with Kyrie? All right, I went LSU and LSU. You know what I'm rooting for the next few years? The demise of the LSU football program, and for Ben Simmons' true colors to be exposed as the most overrated, I'll do it. Not just the most overrated NBA player, the most overrated professional athlete right now in sports. And I know a broadcaster, I believe it was for the Hornets, got in trouble for saying that take, and Ben Simmons got all sensitive about it. He was right. All right, I'm done torching people. On my original notes here for this week's Goss on the Go, I wrote NBA season preview. So we were going to talk about how the New York teams are going to perform, who were some of the breakout players and everything else. Here's what we're going to do instead, because it's so early and we are so deep into football season right now, and even the most diehard NBA fan knows this. It feels like the real NBA doesn't start until Christmas. So for deep dive basketball fans, we're going to hold off to like that big preview until a little later in the season. So like November, December, somebody's going to say it's a cheap answer. No, that's what we're going to do. That's what I'll tell you about some of the players I think are going to stand out, some teams, all that. If you're a New York fan like Brooklyn or the Knicks, if you love the Atlanta Hawks, shout out to Kevin Huerter. A lot of that New York-based stuff, we're going to try our best to cover it on this Friday show for Levack and Gaz. Right into the show, if you're an NBA fan, you want to hear us give a preview of the Knicks, the Nets, the Hawks, whatever you're looking for, at the Jeff Levack on Twitter, at Tom Gaz, TOMGOZZ, a little deeper dive for you on the NBA season. I will give you an NBA Finals prediction. Lakers, Bucks. Lakers, Bucks, and the Lakers. LeBron James gets another championship, but more importantly, my guy Carmelo Anthony. Now, is that the problem right now? Am I picking with my heart over my head? Am I such a Melo stan that I want to do whatever it takes to see my guy finally win the NBA championship? Maybe the emotions are affecting me, but this is, if you go through the career of Carmelo Anthony, probably besides the late 2000 Denver Nuggets who got to a Western Conference Finals against the then-led Kobe Bryant Lakers, this team is most ready and prepared to make a trip back to the NBA Finals. Here's what I'd say about the Lakers. You look across the West, you've got Phoenix, that's a younger team. You've got Dallas, that's going to continue to improve. Oh yeah, Denver's got the league MVP, Nikola Jokic. Portland's always in the mix. Maybe a team's going to finally break out this season like the Golden State Warriors. I say it finally break out. I mean, Klay Thompson's back. That's what it means. Like, hey, okay, that's right. This is going to be the Warrior team we're used to in the past. So they're going to be tested, no doubt. I feel like I should clarify that term, they're tested. I know I just listed off a bunch of teams, so you think the term tested means by the competition they're going to face within the conference, both regular season and playoffs. What I mean by tested is in the lineup. Go back through the archives of Goss on the Go, and I said to you, this is not going to be as simple playing with LeBron and Russell Westbrook. The quotes after the game was LeBron was trying to talk Westbrook down and saying, like, relax. It's a game in October. Go talk to your family. And Westbrook was not taking it. He felt like he was the problem for the team and everything else. It's not going to work. Westbrook and LeBron on the court at the same time is not going to work. What they could do is every time LeBron is off the court, Westbrook is on the court, and you see NBA games, a lot of time there's that lull in the middle of the game where you've got the 7th, 8th, 9th guy out on the floor, but if all of a sudden Russell Westbrook's out there at full steam, the Lakers are going to blow through teams. The Lakers are really old. Here's some perspective here, right? LeBron and Carmelo were drafted in 2003. If you are a basketball fan who's 14 or 15 years old, you don't remember those guys playing because you weren't born. Kids in high school don't remember young LeBron and young Melo because they weren't born. Oh, God, I'm so old. Anyways, the talent on the Lakers, I want to see it get done. I want to see these guys win a championship, and it feels as if the West, they have enough talent to put them over the top. And I feel confident in them. Oh, yeah, Anthony Davis is on the Lakers, too. Remember that guy? Yeah, he's there. I just listed off like 5 or 6 other teams in the West. Who do you feel more confident picking? Phoenix to do it again? Denver? Nobody else has proven to me that maybe this is their time. Maybe the Suns would be the most likely pick, but I want the Lakers. I feel like they bounce back. I trust LeBron. I'll always pick LeBron. And on the East side, Philadelphia's got too many questions. Miami just doesn't have enough talent, even though they're the NBA Finals just a few seasons ago. Brooklyn and Kyrie's a question mark. Let's go back to the champs, the Bucks. Greek Freak is still there. The roster is still there. These guys want to go back-to-back, belly-to-belly. A nod to John Sterling, the Yankees broadcaster there. Rumors are he's going to be back for 2022. Give me Lakers, Bucks, NBA Finals. And Carmelo finally does it. UAlbany football still looking for their first win of the season, and you could potentially watch that team grab W number 1 live from Case Stadium. Godzilla Media still open for you to be a part of the Godzilla Media bus trip. Closing entries will be this Friday. We want to make sure you got time to know where you're going, the details and everything else. Johnstone Supply in Troy. Fall weather. Update the furnace, the air filters, and more. Johnstone Supply in Troy. Check them out on Facebook today. Give them a call as well. Wherever you are in upstate New York, it is worth visiting Johnstone Supply in Troy. Facebook page, just search Johnstone Supply or give them a call at 518-272-5922. 518-272-5922. They're helping with the American Cancer Society. Pink is the color this month. Help fight breast cancer with the great people at Johnstone Supply in Troy. GodzillaMedia.com for more information and be a part of our bus trip to UAlbany this Saturday where the Great Danes can grab win number 1. Now, how do they do it? You got to score points. Ooh, hot take, guys. Wow, score points, win football games. Ouch. Yeah, burn me with your hot take. But that's it. Is it Undercuffler? Is it Carino? Carmofor get going? Is the offensive line improved? Twice this season and an 0-6 start. The highest the Great Danes have scored is 24 points. One of those games was the Syracuse game inside the Carrier Dome. And if you watch that game, you know those are garbage points. Those aren't really 24 points. UAlbany has to move the football. Can they do it against Maine? A program that, just a few seasons ago was a regional semifinal, a Final Four representative. Maine's 2-4 on the season. They've lost to some teams this season. Northern Illinois is a D1 FBS program. Delaware's in that mix. But they beat William & Mary. UAlbany didn't. Hopefully, here's what I would say. If UAlbany football can score over 21 points, they will beat Maine. If they don't, the losing streak will continue for the Great Danes. Now, we still want you to be a part of it. One more time at GodzillaMedia.com. Sign up today to be a part of the Johnstone Supply in Troy bus to Casey Stadium, helping support the American Cancer Society for the Pink Game this Saturday. The Syracuse football fans are hoping the Orange can still become a bowl team. They take on Virginia Tech this Saturday inside Lane Stadium, one of the toughest places to play in college football. But as much as I love to break down the performance of Sean Tucker and other standout Orange players, the story involving Central New York football and even arguably all of upstate New York football on the college end was the announcement that Tommy Devito was leaving the program. Tommy DeVito went to social media and said he's leaving thanks to the Orange fans, the community, his teammates, and everything else. Let's talk about the legacy of Tommy DeVito if you're a Syracuse football fan. Tommy DeVito as a quarterback prospect, when he was signed at a Don Bosco prep, was the highest and most hyped quarterback prospect to sign for Syracuse football since Donovan McNabb. That's not an overstatement. Tommy DeVito at the Elite 11 camp was in the conversation with guys like Jake Fromm and Tua as the best quarterback in the country, and Syracuse fans were stunned he never flipped his commitment. The problem is when he stepped on the field, he wasn't good enough. Tommy DeVito always seemed as if he had an eye on the NFL, that everything he did was in the best interest of himself and not so much for the team. How did he look good on film? Go read about more of Tommy DeVito's background, how his family hired a private quarterback throwing coach to always work with him. Now, some would say if you have the means to do it, go ahead and do it. But what is that quarterback coach going to do for you that Dino Babers isn't going to do for you? Some smile in that comment and say probably a lot more, especially after the ways Babers has been criticized in Central New York for some of his decision-making. But Tommy DeVito was a drop-back passer. I've always called him the Teddy Bridgewater light. A 7-on-7, take off the pads, let him run around in shorts and t-shirts and watch how good Tommy DeVito can be. And hell, if that's your strength, that's great, but you eventually have to put the pads on and guys are going to pressure you and everything else. Syracuse football fan has seen elusive quarterbacks like Eric Dungy and now Garrett Schrader who have been flat out better in Dino Babers' offense. Tommy DeVito was too good to lose, out of the program too soon because of the potential that he had, but it never, ever worked out. Devito defenders would say it's always been the offensive line, how terrible it was. And sure, you could blame the offensive line, but there's a lot of good quarterbacks across many levels of football who've had bad offensive lines, and you don't bring it up. Garrett Schrader, all of a sudden the offensive line got better. Tommy DeVito's legacy will be a quarterback that didn't live up to the hype. It was Eric Dungy who got Syracuse to that double-digit win season and the victory at Orlando. That was Eric Dungy. Tommy DeVito did not follow in his footsteps. Tommy DeVito came in some garbage time at times for Eric Dungy, but that's the legacy. It happens in college sports. It happens in professional sports. It happens at any level of sports. That an athlete can come in with a ton of hype and not live up to the hype. That the athlete, the recruiter you thought was going to help your program get better maybe didn't. That's unfortunately the legacy of Tommy DeVito. He's going to go somewhere, and he's one probably, I just keep thinking of Texas Tech, but we'll just use them for an example. He wants to go somewhere where we can drop back and sling it, look great on tape, and hopefully get a shot at the pros, which always seems like his goal was to be an NFL quarterback. And hell, every player that plays football at some point at a high level probably wants to get paid for it. But his was different. He thought he was that good. He never was that good. He wasn't. That's his legacy. And now Syracuse football has to find the quarterback for the future that maybe can live up or get to the expectations that DeVito had to put Syracuse back as a true contender within their conference and a consistent bowl team again. For months, all I've done is sing the praises of All Elite Wrestling. I told you how great the show was. We moved to Guns on the Go for pro wrestling fans. You might have watched All Elite Wrestling now because hopefully of this podcast. This is the first time we have to have a real conversation about my guy, Tony Khan. Tony Khan, the CEO, the president, whatever title he wants. He's the guy who runs the day-to-day operations of AEW. We told you last week that SmackDown and AEW were going head-to-head on Friday. SmackDown had extended their final half hour. No commercials. Bring out the big guns. Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns, Sasha Banks. To combat with AEW Rampage, their secondary show, you could argue, was doing. The ratings came out. And I don't want to hear from AEW stands or marks or whatever it is about how the rating. They got beat. It is the number one classic mistake that the AEW fans, and in particular Tony Khan, made. Is they tried to make excuses. They tried to change it. They tried to twist the narrative. They've done everything they can not to accept a defeat from the WWE. And I don't know where the hell they got that advice to do that from. Maybe that's the world in 2021, that if you never admit you get beat, if you never admit you're wrong, people might actually believe whatever they want to hear. And hell, I'd love to say that quote 5 more times because so many people know that quote is true. People are just in stuff to hear what they want to hear and have people agree with them and say how smart they are. That's what Tony Khan's playing with right now. He got beat in the ratings. So what Tony Khan decided to do is to twist the narrative and go on Busted Open and talk to Dave LaGreca and have his own show on there. Tony Khan wants to fight with Darren Rovell on Twitter and talk about demos. Please, trust me, as a former radio guy, as someone who does non-traditional media now, the best advice I can give is don't always brag about your ratings because everybody, every show, everything always has a downtime. And I remember this very well. I was frustrated because Levack and I, this is not a humble brag, this is what it is. Levack and I were doing really well. Levack and I had some awesome books, awesome ratings. And as the program director, I wanted to help people. We're kicking ass. And people would say, no, it's not what you do. Like, what do you mean? Like, no one is going to give us credit. No one is going to give us what we deserve unless we have to go out and get it. And it was that, well, if you have a bad book, all of a sudden you're not talking. People are going to wonder, whoa, he's not talking about a bad rating book. He's not bragging on Twitter or anything else. People are going to start asking questions. And what I should have said is, no, they're not. My God, go look at all these websites that hype up radio stations, television stations, podcast number, TikTok, and more. You just have to accept that you're going to have good weeks and bad weeks. I think human beings, people who have an understanding of how life works, will have that perspective. You don't have to tweet out, oh my God, look, wait, hang on, we didn't lose. Here are the numbers for this. That's what Tony Khan was doing. I don't know how people buy this stuff from him, and I love Tony Khan. So Tony Khan every week wants to put out press releases with TNT, so the moment they actually get beat, they don't want to own it. This goes back to the days of Andrew Marchand's work with the New York Post, of Mike Francesa and WFAN versus ESPN New York. And WFAN finally lost. And they said, no, they didn't count streaming numbers. He didn't do this. He didn't do that. And if you were just so focused on television and ratings in the year 2021, you're better than that. Go look at AEW's non-traditional media, their social media, their YouTube, and everything else. And same goes for the WWE. WWE has over 65 billion, with a B, billion views on YouTube. I love NXT. I can't watch as much as I used to. You know how I watch NXT now? I go to YouTube. They've got 15 clips from the show. I can watch the entire NXT show on YouTube. WWE puts their best stuff on there. AEW had a show that was YouTube exclusive. But Tony Khan, who seems to be a really smart guy, wants to fight over everybody about TV ratings and not admit defeat and everything. Don't do that. Don't do that. Take your lumps when you can take your lumps. Eventually, people are going to see through that shit and be like, all right, I feel like everything he says might not always be true. Take a loss. Take an L. Motivate you. And bounce back. I really like AEW. I like where pro wrestling is. But who's going to tell Tony Khan to stop? At least Eric Bischoff in the WCW days had to listen to Ted Turner. He had a boss. Tony Khan's the boss. Vince McMahon's always been the boss, but Vince McMahon answers to the board members and everything else. Just take the L. Go fight again next week and stop feeding people the nonsense you're doing. Let's close it out with our weekend wagers. We'll move fast through these because we're actually getting close to the 40-minute mark for the first time in the Goss on the Go. That means a lot of cool stuff happened. Okay, 16-16 on the season in college, 14-9 in the NFL, 7-2 the last 2 weeks with a 4-0 record last week in the NFL. We're going to go college first. The theme of this week in college is there's some stinky, smelly, disgusting, no good lines. Wisconsin's line makes no sense. I don't know how the hell they're favored against Purdue. I don't know what's going on with that San Jose UNLV game. I'm not touching either one of those games, but they make no sense. I know you can't wager on this game in New York, but if you're listening outside of New York, got a friend, got a cousin, I don't know. Try to give them the heads up on this one. Army, Wake Forest. Army is a 3.5-point underdog. It's getting closer to 3 now, like when you're going to listen to this. Why? Wake Forest is undefeated, top 20 team in the country out of the ACC, but Army is only a 3-point dog at home. Makes no sense. Take the Cadets in a likely super low-scoring game. If you can get it under 40, play that too. That's not a play, though. Just taking Army is going to be my play there. Why is Louisiana Tech, who is 2-4, only a 6.5-point underdog to an undefeated 7-0 Texas San Antonio team? Makes no sense. Give me Louisiana Tech. So again, 2 underdogs here. We're taking Army. We're taking Louisiana Tech. We'll take 2 teams that have helped me get better this season. And what I mean by that is I have a future wager for UCLA in the Pac-12. UCLA's got game day right around 2.5. I can see the Bruins win by a field goal. Perfect. Give me UCLA over Oregon, and hopefully my Pac-12 ticket can stay alive. You know, one of my favorite plays this entire season was San Diego State. The Aztecs are ranked. The Aztecs are an underdog on the road to Air Force. Very similar styles of play. Both these teams are just going to run the football like crazy, but the Aztecs made me look smarter earlier this season. Air Force can be a tough team to beat. Give me San Diego State in that game, and also one other one. I'm putting an asterisk on this one. If Matt Corral plays, give me Ole Miss against LSU. I think they're all done. The coaches know they're going to get fired. The players are going to transfer. They've got to sit on this. They're done with everything. They're quitting. Ole Miss is the play. Only if Matt Corral plays 9.5 is the number. So another quick recap here in college. Give me Army +3. Louisiana Tech +6.5. San Diego State +3.5. Man, a lot of dogs this week. UCLA -2. And then Ole Miss, if Corral plays, -9.5. I like some dogs this week. I like the underdogs. Okay, all about stinky defenses. Chiefs, Titans, both bad defenses. Over-unders 57.5. Derrick Henry, Patrick Mahomes, everybody else. Yes, take the over. High-scoring Chiefs-Titans game. Also take the over in Falcons-Dolphins. This is a good one for fantasy football players. Both the Falcons and the Dolphins defense have both allowed top 5 fantasy football points to wide receivers this season. Shootout. Matt Ryan versus who knows who the hell is playing quarterback for Miami. Just like Geno Smith last week, sometimes a bad quarterback can still give you an over. Give me the over in Dolphins. Falcons. I'm going to continue to roll with my Survivor cover pick. I'm like 5-1 doing that this season. So Arizona, 17.5. Give me all them points. Nom, 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 nom. I'll take the Cardinals, 17.5. And one of my favorite plays of the entire NFL season. I love trashing Carson Wentz. If it's Trey Lance, I like it even more. Give me the Colts +4 against the Niners on Monday Night Football coming off a bye week. If it's Garoppolo, I will not feel as confident. But at least if I can get that number at 3.5, I could see San Francisco kicking a game winner. Give me the Colts. One more time for you. Colts with the points. Cardinals with the points. Over Chiefs-Titans. Over Falcons-Dolphins. There you go. Just a few seconds over 40 minutes. Man, I got to redo the intro. Quick, Gosling go. Almost under 40 minutes. All right, hopefully you win some cash on that. Hope to see you on Saturday at the UAlbany game. Maybe you still be a part of that bus trip. Or I can say what's up to you on Friday, live from Mohawk Island, 3 to 4:30, whether it's there in Glenville or virtual, Facebook, YouTube, and more. Talk to you again soon.